Aujourd'hui, je vais parler de my rebuttal to one of these inane financial media type of articles that basically is the antithesis of the whole FIRE mindset, and how that relates to why I think the financial media as a whole is a crock full of bull. Yeah. Hey, Zempak here. So I'm a pretty emotional dude. Well, sometimes. At least whenever I see an article like the one I'm going to link below that made my eye roll so far back in the back of my head that I must have looked like a dead person to my wifey for a good minute. Anyway, the name of the article is Live a Richer Life by Working Longer and Retiring Later. Oh my lord. So already, just by the title alone, you know it's going to be anti-FIRE in spirit, written by someone whose job is wealth manager. I can only assume that he doesn't do his job that well since he himself is not retired. But then again, maybe he's taking his own advice, right? Maybe he's living a richer life by continuing to work voluntarily. Title got me curious, so I read it, and guess what? Didn't change my mindset even a tiny bit. Okay. So you know what? Enough preamble. I want to immediately crush this guy's arguments one by one. Sub and like and comment and share and all that. But that's for later, okay? After you've heard my rant, of course. So number one. Immediately the writer talks about why someone might need to work longer. And it is not because it'll lead to a richer life, but because he thinks that most people can't save even that 20% of their income, and therefore probably has to work longer. You see how faulty this premise is, right? Now, I agree that most people can't save 20%, even though that's not the goal that they should be aiming for, right? But that doesn't mean that a life of work due to necessity instead of desire should qualify as richer. I mean, if anything, whenever I have to do something, it automatically makes that activity less fun or desirable. How about you guys? At least the author admits that sometimes working longer simply isn't possible, but he continues to call working more years a choice, as if someone who doesn't have enough retirement savings actually has a choice as to work or not. Oh my god. Entire premise, total BS. Okay. Number two, then he goes on to talk about how holding off Social Security means you get more money, right? Retiring later, taking the Social Security later. Yes, that's factually true. But once again, this is assuming that you have no other source of income all the way up to the maximum age when you can take Social Security, right? That is besides your job, right? And that may well be true for the vast majority of the American population. But is that where you want to be, right? When the financial media talks about household wealth, they really only ever focus on primary home equity and retirement savings, right? When they talk about investments, they just talk about retirement savings, as if somehow these two classes of assets are the only thing anyone could have, right? I find this assumption absurd. I mean, hey, if you're watching a video about FIRE or financial independence, retire early, I hope you do have other assets, right? What about your regular individual brokerage? What about your income producing rental properties, right? I mean, surely one should at least be aiming for assets that are not tied to the house that you live in or accounts that you can't access without paying a penalty, right? To assume that there's no way to pay for life from however old you are now, all the way up to the age of around 70, besides being a regular worker bee, is exactly the kind of backwards thinking that keeps most people in the rat race, right? That they mostly despise. Isn't that the case, right? Do you want to be in that group? Really? My god. Point number three. I'll skip some of the rest of the article because it just reiterates the things that I objected to earlier, right? I'll comment on the last bullet point called Working Longer Proves to Save More for Retirement. I guess yes, this generic statement is true, once again. Technically, you do save more if you just keep working, because ideally, I hope, you are making more money than you are spending, right? So you're still saving some little bit of money, even if it's that pitiful 20%. By the way, I don't know whether you know what I suggested you save. 50%, at least 50%. 20% is ridiculous, right? By that logic, though, I've got the perfect way for everyone to have a risk-free retirement, all right? You ready for it? You ready for it? Just don't retire ever, okay? Just keep working until you die, right? Because if you follow that strategy, work until you die, you definitely won't run out of money, right? I mean, you also won't have any time whatsoever to enjoy your life, unless, of course, you're one of the few extremely lucky people who love your job, right? Though I'd question that premise as well, right? For even if you loved your job when you were young and spry, somehow I doubt you still love the same job when you're 90 years old, okay? Unless you're Warren Buffett, of course, there's always exceptions. In conclusion, I really cannot stand articles like this that are in that Susie Orman vein of trying to scare people that they just have to keep working and working until they're the age that they should be having great-grandchildren. I mean, hey, work if you love it, right? That's cool, right? Because then it's not really work. But don't work because you're afraid, right? This great country that I live in, the US of A, have a serious problem with its attitude towards work in general, right? No, you are not defined solely by your job, nor by the crap that you can buy with the money that it pays you, right? Now, if you can really buy into this concept that I just mentioned and remove yourself from both your professional association and the consumerism that it usually leads to, I guarantee you'll be able to save much more than 20% or whatever crap generic financial advice is out there, right? And then you'll be able to retire when you still have energy to do the things that you dreamt about when you were a child, to explore and have adventures, you know, when you physically still can, right? Financial media is filled with this drivel because they're in it to keep the status quo going, right? Don't listen to the man. Break free, you can do it. Get to financial independence, retire early, and taste real freedom. Forever, right? Then it's from now until you die. Cheers. I'll approach it.